Calaroga Shark Media.
From Montreal, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. I just walked out of New Faces 1, and a much smaller theater than they've had in the past. It was filled, but I've been in much bigger venues for New Faces, but I've also been in smaller venues. Like 15 years ago, it was in a pretty small room. Then it got big, and this is the reconstituted festival. Your host for the show, Gianmarco Ceresi, and that had me thinking, they used to have Pete Holmes. Well, Gianmarco actually addressed that and got some laughs out of the festival going bankrupt, and now you don't get Pete Holmes, you get Gianmarco. He was really good. They made it quite clear it was a TV taping. Now, what was really, really interesting to me, they had us tape fake laughs. They had us do a chuckle, a medium laugh. They had us do a hoot and holler. So they're planning on adding laughs, and they very well may have to. Did I just give away the lead here? Yeah. They also kept the lights up for the most part. I was taking notes. I've got my notebook here in my left hand and could perfectly see, which kind of surprised me. I thought I was going to have to use the red light on my Apple Watch. All right, so first up, always tough spots because, you got to win the crowd over. Alistair Ogden, he's out of Toronto. Came out, was kind of low energy, and I was like, uh-oh, this is going to be tough. But you know what? He was best of the night of the 10. First up, the winner, Alistair Ogden. Oh, I'm not supposed to say winner. Sorry, Alistair Ogden, not the winner. Just, best of the 10. Second up, out of Massachusetts, Maggie Crane. I wrote charismatic, but she's not ready. The material's not really there. And one of two comics during the night, I hear a Nikki Glaser cadence creeping into comedy now. And Maggie's out of Massachusetts, so it's not a regional thing. She might be one to keep an eye on, but like I wrote, the material's not there yet. Third, Devontre Coleman. He might be a writer. The material's really good. The performance is a little too slow, and he was reciting it, not performing it, if you know what I mean. The crowd loved him, though, and I'm an admitted comedy snob, so he had a pretty good night. Number 4 out of the UK, Chloe Pettis, I think it is. I wrote Pets, but I believe it's Pettis. Again, you hear the band behind me. I'm recording on the street. Nice, good set. She's very likable. Nothing extraordinary, but solid. Fifth up, Bruce Gray out of California. This was, to me, surreal. It was like every club comic all merged and became one person. It was like if you had a movie and you needed a guy to play the comic, you would hire Bruce Gray, and maybe that is his future. I actually looked over my shoulder to check the light. Oh, I meant to point out Alistair Ogden in the first spot. He ran the light to the degree that they were flashing the spots to get him off. He was way over. But during Bruce Gray, everybody doing supposedly 6-minute sets, I kept checking my shoulder, like, is the light on yet? Is the light on yet? Not that it was bad, but it was just like, okay, club comic. It didn't feel new facey to me. Olivia Stadler drew the 6th spot. She's out of Toronto. Also had that Nikki Glaser cadence and kept doing the, you know what I mean? So again, it's not a regional thing. She's out of Toronto, and Maggie Crane's out of Massachusetts. So I don't know what's going on, that people are just doing that. She was kind of flat, and the crowd was not into it. Probably the roughest draw of the night. Gianmarco came out after her set, and in between the others, he was just kind of going, next up, out of New Jersey, here's Johnny Mac. But after her set, he actually did some material to kind of pull the crowd back in. Number 7 out of Manchester, Dan Tiernan. Very stylized, and I always find the stylized comics to be shooting stars. He opens up joking about his face, and that got me wondering, okay, but are you going to have a career making just jokes about your face? That's a good 90 seconds. I wrote it here in my notebook, stylized can't last, but I'll tell you, and I'm a comedy snob, the crowd loved him. He had a good night. 8th spot out of Queens, New York, where I'm from, Grace Johnson. I'm not in a bad mood at all, but I wrote, it sounded like the idea of a comedy set. So like earlier where I said Devontre Coleman had the material but not the performance, she's got the performance but not the material. Maybe they should team up. 9 out of Philadelphia, Connor Janda. I wrote, he's fine. I did check the light twice on him. And in the 10th spot, Jesus Sepulveda out of Arizona. I was kind of excited when he came out, and I just had a feeling he was going to be good. My notes here, good performer, material not there. So that's New Faces 1. 1 out of 10. Usually it's 3 or 4 out of 10. It is now 9:02 p.m. and I'm going to hit the 9:30 show, and I'm hoping that show will be better than New Faces 1. Little subpar. Let me talk to you about the festival while we're here. It feels normal to me walking around town. It looks like the festival. The usual theaters have the usual shows. Personally, I have discovered neighborhoods that I hadn't been over to in past festivals, including where I am tonight. What street are we on? St. Denis. And apparently there's a cool restaurant scene over here that usually in the past for the festival we've been more over to the west, I think, if my geography is correct. More over towards Mount Royal. So we're a little east. I think, if I have the geography. Anyway, we're more over in this direction, and it's a cool part of town that I hadn't been to before. Got a bit of news here that I'm reading off my notepad. Again, sorry, this first half here isn't as polished as normally, standing on a street. They are going to give the Podcast of the Year award here at the festival to the Handsome Podcast, which features Tig Notaro, Fortune Feimster, and Mae Martin. I know Mae is here. Fortune was hosting Kimmel, so I don't know if the other two are here, but that will be awarded on Friday. Ryan Reynolds will present the Generation Award to Rob Mack, formerly known as Rob McElhenney. That's so funny. Roy Wood Jr. will present the Lifetime Achievement Award to Amazon's Clean Slate comedy co-star George Wallace. Rising Comedy Star of the Year will go to Hannah Berner. And festival programmers have announced that Kat Cohen has joined the awards show lineup as presenter, while Matthew Broussard, who's been a guest on this program, will MC the prize-giving event. And let's see if I can do a story from a web browser while standing on a corner. From the Daily Mail, comedian and podcaster Andrew Schulz has objected to Dave Portnoy's criticism of New York mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani. Not for political reasons, but because he sees Portnoy as a non-New Yorker. Andrew Schulz was on the internet show Breaking Points and said, if you're not spending 51% of your time in the city, you're not committed. Schulz said, it's like Portnoy. You just say you're upset about the Israel stuff. You don't live in New York. Stop acting like you care if a socialist communist runs New York. You're upset because he said globalize the intifada. Just make it about that. You're allowed to make it about that. Portnoy has apparently responded by revealing private text messages. That's not cool. That, according to these texts, if they are real, show Schulz attacking the New York first candidate for his economic views. In response to Schulz calling Portnoy out, saying he should stop acting, Portnoy wrote, if anybody's acting, it ain't me. The alleged text, Schulz allegedly wrote, I hate his policies. I think he wants to help, but he's just wrong in the way he's trying to help. All right, we'll take the break there. Here in Montreal today at 1 o'clock, New Faces Writers. And then at 3:30, New Faces Creators. At 5 o'clock, Taskmaster the Podcast with Ed Gamble does a recording. Danny Boy at 7. Russell Howard at 7. Brit-ish, one of my faves, at 7. New Faces Characters. That's always a great show. That's at 7 o'clock. Celia Pacola, I Am As Surprised As You at 7 o'clock. I don't know Celia. Jay Jordan at 7. Reese Darby at 7. Packed night tonight, huh? Rachel Scanlon at 7. I don't know Rachel. Best of the Fest, 7:30. Emil Joachim at 8:30. Adam Ray is Dr. Phil live at 9 with a lot of big people in town. That could be a real winner. Nathan McIntosh at 9. Nick Muhammad at 9:30. Brad Williams, who I love, is at 9:30. New Faces Stand-Ups at 9:30. The Nasty Show at 9:30. Joe Dombrowski at 9:30. Best of the Fest, 9:45. Frankie Quinones at 10. Steph Tolev at 11:30. That's fun. I'd never be able to stay awake that long. Midnight Surprise at midnight. Stamptown at midnight. Okay, let's take a look at tonight's lineup. Got the New Faces at 1 and 3:30. Then maybe an early dinner and a couple beverages. Maybe Brit-ish at 7. Hate to skip Brad Williams, but I think bet on Adam Ray at 9. And if you've got anything left in you, Steph Tolev's not my cup of tea. I might walk you over to Steph Tolev and head off to bed. That's a good night of comedy. Now, the other day, I gave you Variety's list of the comics to watch. BET reacted to it. They actually reacted a full week ago. It's been pretty busy, in case you haven't noticed. They have the headline, The Real Ones, Black Comedians and Writers Who Actually Shaped Comedy This Year. They wrote, while Variety played the diversity version of Where's Waldo, we did what needed to be done. From Emmy winners to viral disruptors, here are the black comedic voices keeping the culture clever, cutting, and undeniably funny. No tokenism required. BET writes, when Variety released its top comics and comedy writers of 2025 list, I'm not even going to give them a link back, which was as diverse as a Miracle Whip sandwich. According to them, comedy in 2025 is a whites-only party with maybe one or two brown guests who brought their own folding chairs. Not a single black comic made the cut. Not one. This isn't just an oversight, it's erasure. It's proof that black comics can sell out arenas, carry Emmy-winning shows, break the internet with stand-up clips, redefine satire, and still get left off the list unless they're dead or hosting a reboot. So here's our list. Quinta Brunson. Quinta made Abbott Elementary a primetime juggernaut, proving that a sitcom led by a black woman about black teachers in a black Philly public school could be smart, funny, and award-winning all at once. Natasha Rothwell. From Insecure to The White Lotus, Natasha doesn't just play characters, she steals entire scenes, rewrites your expectations, and then leaves you begging for more. Gerard Carmichael. He's the kind of comic who lets you laugh and rethink everything you thought you knew about what a stand-up could be. Sam J. Her show Pause with Sam J. bent the talk show format like a pretzel. Plus, she's behind some of the sharpest sketches on SNL before she dipped. Nicole Byer, actress, comedian, podcast host, she's everywhere. Josh Johnson. You know, this is a very, very strong list. Yes, Variety mentioned him, barely. They lumped Josh into the Daily Show's news team trio like he didn't have a whole successful stand-up career, multiple specials, and one of the most thoughtful comedic voices out right now. Langston Kerman. A master of dry wit and absurdity, Langston balances stand-up, acting, and two of the most underrated black comedies in recent history, Bust Down and Southside. Janelle James. Forget Scene Stealer. She ran away with Abbott Elementary. Her stand-up is smart and salty, and her voice in comedy is only getting louder and more necessary. Ziwei is now canceled Showtime series was cultural satire in a rhinestone glove. She weaponized awkwardness, flipped privilege into punchlines, and made interviewers nervous again. Chris Redd, post SNL, he's thriving. His HBO special, Why Am I Like This, was brutally funny and heartfelt. Dwayne Perkins, co-writer and star of The Blackening, a horror spoof that was actually hilarious. Jessica Williams, once The Daily Show's youngest correspondent, now doing layered comedy and shrinking. Ayu Edebiri, from the famous comedy show The Bear. She's nerdy, nervy, and a natural. Naomi Ekperigin. Whether on Couples Therapy or Mythic Quest, Naomi's comedy always mixes heart and hella insight. Lacey Mosley. Scam Goddess stays funny, fast, and flawlessly black. Lacey brings comedy into true crime and keeps it cute and criminal. Jermaine Fowler. His underrated performance in Coming to America and voice work in BoJack Horseman show his range. His stand-up, slept on and sharp. Amber Ruffin. Late Night's secret weapon. They cite The Amber Ruffin Show, where her signature combo of bubbly energy and biting satire proved you can be disarming and devastating in the same breath. Great list, and they write, so while Variety keeps handing out gold stars in a whites-only echo chamber, we'll keep writing, performing, producing, and rewriting the rules. Very good list. As you know, I've left the country because of the release of Happy Gilmore 2. I mean, with everything going on in the world, this was the final straw for me. If we're going to make sequels to terrible Adam Sandler movies, I just can't be part of it anymore. So that's why I've moved here to Canada, where I'm just living in Montreal. U.S. Bank has teamed up with Netflix for a sponsorship deal. Quote, a move designed to win over younger audiences with a blend of humor and nostalgia. This from Adweek. U.S. Bank is the title sponsor for the fictional Tour Championship Golf Tournament and Adam Sandler's Happy Gilmore 2. Its logo would be splashed across banners throughout the movie. It even appears on the bib of Happy's caddy. I don't want to tell you who will play the caddy. It's an interesting choice, but I don't want to spoil Happy Gilmore 2 for you. Other brands in Happy Gilmore 2 include Subway and Callaway. Can't wait for that movie, huh? Here in Canada, Steph Tolev talked to our national broadcaster, the CBC. Steph Tolev said, a lot of weird, gross things normally happen to me, especially in my sex life. Like I got choked in a basement, I fooled around with a 65-year-old man, nothing is made up. She's out to prove it's okay for people, especially women, to talk about their bodies openly. Steph says, I think when women are together with themselves, they're like this. I'm just trying to give voice to people so they can feel more comfortable. And I'm not saying anything that people don't normally say or do. Like I'm just talking out loud about bodily functions that we all do every day. Tolev asked a woman in the audience the last time she farted in front of her husband. The woman said it had been 50 years. Steph said, I was like, what is happening? How can you live like this? Steph says internet trolls can be cruel to female comedians. She says, personally, I'm not that confident. I still read the comments and sometimes I cry because they're so mean. But I think when I'm on stage, I just feel, I don't know, different power. And I don't feel self-conscious when I'm up there. But the second I get off, I'm still a normal gal. When it comes to her own comedy and crowd work,
I never make fun of anyone's physical appearance because I don't find that funny. If you've seen a clip of me where I'm coming at somebody kind of hard, it's because they've done something, like they've heckled or they've been rude to other comedians. I don't want to upset anybody. I'm tormented in a lot of ways, but I'm not mean. Roy Wood Jr. told the San Francisco Chronicle that former Mayor Willie Brown showed up at a show. However, Wood posted on Twitter, Willie Brown showed up to my sold-out San Francisco shows once and told the doorman, Willie Brown on every list. He was not on my list. Still, they gave him a free ticket. According to Wood, Brown said, you just met Willie Brown. You want a picture? Apparently, Mr. Brown picked up a CD and took it without paying. Wood said, no date, no homeboys, no security detail, just the mayor out by himself showing up for your show for free and stealing your stuff. He was so charming, I couldn't even be mad. A new feature documentary on the career of Joan Rivers is in production, slated for release in 2026. Joan's daughter, Melissa, is part of the project. Untitled Joan Rivers Project will draw from Joan Rivers' personal archive, including newly unearthed home videos and hundreds of hours of previously unreleased comedy recordings and audio tapes. Melissa, in a statement, said, now feels like the right time to look at why my mother's voice still resonates today. Hers is not only the story of a trailblazer, but of a real woman trying to navigate the life of conflicting desires and how that shaped her hilarious view of the world. And that, from Canada, is your comedy news for today. See you tomorrow.